What's up? Brandon Lilly here. Someone commented that they felt I should take my sunglasses off because they felt like seeing my eyes would give a better connection. So, connection made. It's a rainy day, so I'm not driving with my sunglasses on. It's not because I'm hiding anything. I wear my sunglasses. So, beyond that, what I want to talk about today is some of the shifts in the way that I think about things. Obviously, the principles of the Q method and the rotation of the intensities, I still hold true to that. I still program that way. I still think about the intensities in that way, being heavy, repetition, and explosiveness. So I have a heavy day, a repetition day, and an explosive day for all my lifts. One of the things that has changed on the Predator, it has become more of a high frequency type of training. We deadlift once a week, and we do bench and squat twice a week. The rotation days, or the way that things rotate now, is the deadlift is on a 3-week rotation. Explosive, repetition, heavy, explosive, repetition, heavy. The way that the squat and the bench work is you have an explosive day and a heavy day on the squat, let's say on week 1. And then the next week you have a explosive day and a repetition day. And then the next week is explosive and heavy, and then explosive and repetition in week 4. I don't do all 3. I don't do a sequential order because every week has an explosive day. That is kind of a retroaction back to some of the influence of the West Side method. Some of my better understanding that having that lighter explosive day doesn't tax you in the same way, and it gives you more time to work technique, which is also one of the other adaptations that I've really made in my way of thinking. I used to only really emphasize getting stronger and pushing the weight up, and now for me, I will trade 5 pounds on the bar for better execution of a lift. I stated this on Facebook a while back. Somebody asked me, would I rather have a gym full of world record holders where the lifts were, called into question, or would I rather have a gym full of people who did it right, even if they weren't the strongest? And for me, I think the answer has to go with, I would rather have lifters who are the example of doing things perfectly, and then over time having the hope or the belief that I can build them into something more, versus having people who are doing things, cutting corners to hopefully achieve greatness. Now, that's just my opinion. That's what I'm working with right now. I'm working with people who, are trying to get to the next level. I'm not trying to work myself into a frenzy over getting people who are the strongest, because once you're strong, you've already proven your ability to be so. You've already proven your ability to do the extreme or go to the extreme to get to that next level. Now, I'm trying to take people and show them a different approach, a much more long-term approach, a 10-year approach. All of us are going to be in this sport for a while. All of us have big goals. If we get to the same goal, whether it's in 4 years or it's in 10 years, but my way offers you a safer, more linear approach versus a 4-year plan where you have to take everything to the extreme, you push everything to the limit, your chance of injury goes up, your dissatisfaction with lifting goes up, all of those things. I think the longer term approach is much more beneficial to the lifter. So that's just me. I'm going to do a very detailed article speaking about this, but I call it an investment approach. There are people who, with their money, they invest, they get rich very quickly. There are people more people are successful with a long-term investment approach with moderate gains or moderate goals for financial gain versus trying to hit the big win every single time. For every big win, there's a big risk, and I think the same applies to powerlifting. And I came up through General Motors, understanding the credit system, understanding money and investments, and that's why I call it an investment approach. It just works for my mind that way. So for me now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is that when I'm doing my training myself, I don't necessarily know what I'm going to do that day outside of the main lift. So I do the main lift, let's say the bench press, and depending on where I am weak that day, that dictates my accessory movements. So what I call is the hierarchy of movement. And for me, when I bench press, I take the bar out, straighten my arms, lock my triceps, flare my lats. I lower down, engaging the lats as much as I possibly can. When I hear the press command, I flare out with the lats, push up into the tricep, flare the shoulder, and then lastly I squeeze my pec. So I just gave you the sequential order of how I move. When I'm building my training program or my training for that day, that's exactly what I do. My lats get worked first, my triceps get worked second, my shoulders, and then my pecs. Now, for me, Swede in the fifth set calls it a mechanically similar movement. I call it a like movement. Same thing, different terminology. But for me, I'm going to do my main competition movement first. Then I'm going to accessorize with a like movement or a mechanically similar movement. That being close grip press, a wide grip press, a pause press off the chest, something along those lines. Now, without giving too much away about the predator rotation, the reps on the first movement are going to be somewhere between 2 to 5 repetitions depending on the time frame and the schedule. Now, for my second movement, as I'm beginning to enter hypertrophy phases, I'm going to be somewhere between 6 and 10 reps. Anything else below that, as far as my accessory work is concerned, is all about minimizing deficiencies. And how do you minimize a muscular deficiency? With hypertrophy work. So everything needs to be 8 reps plus. I don't think you're going to get very much from a muscular standpoint in doing 6 repetitions on lat pull-downs, but 8, 10, 12, somewhere in that range, yes. The next movement for triceps is going to be somewhere between 10 to 15. The next rep range for the shoulders is going to be probably 12 to 20. And then the pecs, because they're the last thing, they're the smallest portion of my mover, and it's at the end of the workout, and I'm just trying to force a ton of blood through there, it's probably going to be somewhere between 15 and 25 repetitions. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but they already should have been worked in some way from the bench press, the secondary movement, and then also some of the ancillary work from my other movements. So let's just build a workout. I go in. Everything is working basically uniformly as I expect it to. I do the bench press first for 5 reps. I do my close grip for 6 to 8 reps. Now, this is what I would consider a heavy day. 5 repetitions, 3 repetitions, 2 repetitions. Those consist of a heavy day. So on my heavy days, my accessory work then becomes lighter with more repetition. On my lighter days, my explosive days, my accessory work tends to be heavier and for less repetitions. It gives me balance, it gives me a change of focus, it allows me to always feel like I'm doing something productive with weight in my hands, with different understanding of the approach. Now, I've done my main movement, I've done close grip press on my second. Now, lat pull-downs. The way that I do my lat pull-downs for bench press is I try to arch my back into a position like I'm on the bench press. I don't have a very big arch. I'm basically, by most accounts, flat backed, but I do try to arch as much as I possibly can. So I arch my back. I try to bring the lat pull down bar exactly into line with where I touch on my chest to maximize that muscle range through the same plane. And then I go back up slowly. I try to fight the muscle in a way that's different, more of a negative approach. And sometimes I'll even do static holds on the chest. There's eccentric, there's concentric, and there's static. So I like to do all of those things in different ways. And that goes back to some of the DC training by Dante Trudell. I trained his method for a long time. He actually coached me years ago. And I've adapted some of that to the Predator program, some of the rest pause stuff, some of the AMRAP stuff. So, I've actually gone backwards with a lot of my beliefs because I've opened my mind to some of the things that I had neglected before. After I do that, then I'm going to go into the triceps. Now, for me, I could go over and do tricep pushdowns all day, and that's good. You're going to work your triceps. But the way that I rotate my shoulder and I push out with the triceps here, you know, you can't really see it because I'm driving, but I kind of flare the arm out. I do palms facing rotational tricep presses. I kind of rotate out at the top. That moves my tricep in the exact same plane as I am on the bench press. And then again, because my shoulder flares out like this, what I'm going to do is probably a significant amount of weight for side laterals. That works me very well. And then lastly, when I'm locking out my bench, I'm pushing my pecs together, so I finish out with cable flies. Now, as I said, I would do lat pull-downs to my chest on bench day. I engage my lats down and forward on my squat. So how am I going to mimic that? I could do lat pull-downs to my chest, or I could lighten the weight a little bit and pull the lat down behind my head. Again, it's all based on how you move. So our accessory movement should never be the same. Now, for most people, let me back up a step. For most people, most beginning lifters to intermediate lifters, there's a very similar range of movements, accessories that will benefit everyone. Most beginning lifters just need good hard work. But as you become more advanced and as you move further up the pyramid of success, you have to specialize for yourself. So I'm talking about, you know, if you are a young lifter and you're training by yourself and you feel like you want to try this out, it's definitely going to work for you. But you need to have an understanding of your body, how you move, and how you feel. And one of the things that I always recommend to people is how do you know which muscle is being worked? Do an exercise, put it very, very light, and do it 100 reps. You will see where that muscle is moving by the fatigue rate. You can do that in the squat, you can do that in the bench, you can do that in the deadlift. Now, I'm not saying 100 reps in the deadlift or squat, I'm hypothesizing to you here. But if you do those movements with a light enough weight, you will feel the muscle groups being worked and how they're worked. And then you need to find accessory works that mimic that feeling. So if I'm sitting here and I do tricep press downs and that feels like how my triceps feel when I bench press, that is a superior movement to what I just said, which is palms facing. But for me, a palms facing rotational bench press with dumbbells hits my triceps in exactly the same way a bench press does. So that for me is one of the advantages of doing things this way. This is a far cry from what I used to do. Now, the other thing is forced adaptation. I believe in doing something 7 days a week. I believe that our bodies are designed to work. I feel like I'm not asking you to go in there and do 7 days of workouts. What I am suggesting is to take this thought into mind. If you look at a mechanic's hands, you know, I worked in a garage for a while. I have thick fingers, thick palms. My hands were not always this way. But over time, in turning those wrenches and getting my hands developed every day, little by little, my hands thickened up, the joints got a little bit bigger, so on and so forth. So what is stopping you from going to the gym and doing a set, 4 sets, 5 sets of lat pull-downs with moderate weight, or hamstring curls, or sled drags, or bicep curls, or something every single day to try to enhance and improve the quality of your physique and the quality of your lifting? I think that we give ourselves too many excuses because we are absolutely capable of doing more than we are. If you tell me that you're getting overtrained from 4 to 5 hour-and-a-half sessions a week, then you're doing something wrong. I've worked on a farm, I've worked in hard laborious positions, and it's a funny thing to me when somebody's lifestyle or living or their food is based on how hard they work, you don't get overtrained. But lifters can get overtrained 4 days a week at an hour and a half. I don't buy that. If you are getting overtrained, and I do believe that in some cases you possibly can, you're maxing out every day and you're just shutting your system down. But if you have a sound training plan, the only way I can think you can overtrain is actually by under-recovering, under-eating, under-sleeping. If you dedicate to those things equally as hard as you train, I think it's very, very difficult for a lifter to overtrain. So apply some of this, give it some thought, see how it can work out for you. But I promise you, I'm going to write an article that I think will be very enjoyable. We'll explain this in a lot deeper detail, and I'll post some videos along the way to explain it. Like, dislike, comment, share, ask questions, whatever you want to do. But thanks for watching. I'll get up another video today because I missed yesterday's. Thanks.